Good morning, good day, good afternoon, depending on where you are in the country. And joining us today, I am Michael Craven. I am the Vice President and Dean of the Colson Fellows Program here at the Colson Center. With me on screen is Tiffany Granderson. Tiffany is the Senior Administrator for the Church Affiliate Program and the person who is going to be most helpful to you if you decide to move forward in the pursuit of establishing an affiliate at your church. What we want to do today, and I understand that this is a different audience than we are used to speaking with about the church affiliate program. Typically, we're always talking to folks who have either just finished the program, alumni of the program, so they're familiar with the program generally, and they're looking to take the program into their church. And so I understand we have a lot of folks on the call with us today that may be learning about the Colson Fellows program itself for the first time, much less this particular delivery model that comes alongside the local church and equips them to facilitate the program for themselves in their local congregations. So we're going to go through the presentation, give you a good solid overview of both the Colson Fellows program and the unique arrangement that we have charted with local churches. Tiffany is now going to explain how you can ask questions when we get to the conclusion of this, and we'll have some time for Q&A. So Tiffany, if you would, please.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us today. It is good to have you with us, and we are happy to take your questions. So as Michael said, he's going to give a presentation, and at any time during this presentation, you can submit your questions. What we'd ask you to do is go down to the bottom of your screen. You will see a Q&A box. If you click on that, the box will pop up. You can type in your question there. Make sure that you form it as a question so we know really what you're kind of wanting to know so we can understand. And we can ask general questions. If it really gets into the weeds about your specific church situation, then I would really recommend you set up a meeting, and I'd be happy to answer whatever questions you have. But with that, I will say I'm turning it back over to you, Michael.
Thank you, Tiffany. Well, first, the Colson Fellows Program specifically. This was founded by Chuck Colson 20 years ago. And the first time I met Chuck, he said something that was so profound. He said, we need to re-evangelize the church with the gospel of the kingdom. And what Chuck was doing was putting his finger on what I would argue might be the prevailing issue of our time. And that is the reduction of the gospel to nothing more than one's personal salvation. That to be sure, our salvation is deeply and profoundly personal, but it was never meant to remain private. In other words, by making it private, we have separated the advent, of God's healing reign over all of creation from one's personal salvation. And this has led to the self-marginalization of the church in the broader culture, and the consequences are evident as we look around and ask ourselves the question, what in the world is going on? Our culture is not only post-Christian, it is becoming increasingly anti-Christian. And this is a challenge for us. And so that's why Chuck started the program. He argued 25 years ago, one of those voices, Francis Schaeffer, Chuck Colson, and others, that the church's singular failure in recent decades has been the failure to see and understand Christianity as a whole life system or worldview, one that governs every area of human existence, activity, and endeavor. And so he wanted to create a program out of this concern for both the church and our culture. We see our culture devolving, and the church's apparent inability to do anything about that. And again, this is 25 years ago. And so we wanted to create a program that would effectively equip Christians to understand the Christian faith as something much more than just a personal experience, but as the only true explanation of all reality. It is a claim of reality. Christ is risen, Christ is Lord. And so that was really the motivating factor behind the Colson Fellows program, and really the emphasis of possessing and developing a coherent Christian worldview. Secondly, there was a need to help Christians develop a cultural hermeneutic, a way of interpreting the culture and understanding the times in which we live and understanding them from a deeply theological perspective so we could respond effectively and winsomely, which is point number three, equipping us to respond winsomely, to expose these false pretensions that, according to the Bible, actually do keep people from a knowledge of God. And finally, to help Christians learn how to bear witness to the broader advent of God's healing reign, the gospel of the kingdom, the inbreaking rule and reign of the Lord Jesus Christ, and rediscovering our part in the redemption of all things, in which Jesus is setting right all that sin is set wrong, making all things new. Amen. So let's talk a little about what you're going to learn, what is taught in the Colson Fellows program. Well, again, how to understand the times and know what to do, that cultural hermeneutic, to recognize that as Christians who are called to love the Lord their God with all their heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love their neighbors as themselves, it is not possible for us to fulfill either of those while remaining indifferent to the world around us, in particular when that world becomes harmful to human beings made in the image of God. And the ideas fomented within that culture, within that society, are harmful to human beings made in the image of God. So, in other words, indifference is not an option. We must be engaged in the world around us. And before we can do that, we need to understand what's happening around us. And we don't teach worldview as a polemic. In other words, we're not looking to create culture warriors, equip people with arguments so they can win debates. Instead, we teach worldview as the Bible describes, which is wisdom. And the biblical writers understood wisdom as something far deeper than I think we think today. For them, wisdom was knowing how to be a human well. And from a Christian perspective, the key to being a human well is experienced through the reconciliation of four relationships, the first of which is absolutely essential, and that is a reconciled relationship to God through Christ Jesus. And what follows from that is the experience of reconciliation with ourselves, all of our insecurities, our pathologies, our brokenness. The Lord begins to work in this therapeutic sense to bring about healing in the human person. And then this begins to free us up to live in right relationship with others, to love one another more than we love ourselves. And finally, to return to our original calling of being fruitful and multiplying, filling the earth and subduing it, the cultural commission, and that is our proper relationship to the whole of creation. So that's how we teach worldview, the ability to discern what is true, what is good, what is beautiful from the scriptures, as taught in the scriptures, addressing every aspect of life and reality. And armed with this ability, you now have the ability to analyze, again, issues and ideas and discern what is true, what is good, and what is beautiful. And subsequently, how to respond to the ever-emerging wave of cultural flashpoints with which we find ourselves confronted today, whether it's LGBTQ, it's identity issues, transgender issues, abortion, life issues, end-of-life issues. It just seems that there is a cascading number of issues with which we find ourselves confronted. We, the church, find ourselves confronted with daily, which we know we have some moral obligation to respond. And what a Christian worldview, once you have this ability, once the Christian understands the story of which they are a part, they're better equipped to navigate all of life from a consciously, deliberately, and thoughtfully Christian perspective. And we're going to ground all of this teaching, all of this training in God's good story, the biblical story. And I begin by explaining or using this quote from Alistair McIntyre, in which he says, I can only answer the question, what am I to do, if I can answer the prior question of what story or stories do I find myself a part. And here it seems is another area of deficiency within the contemporary Christian's understanding. You see, today we tend to start that story at the fall problem. We begin with the sin problem, and we end with redemption, Jesus coming, dying on the cross to obtain for me and for you salvation personally. And of course, these two things are true, but they are not the entirety of the story. That's not the total biblical story. The larger biblical story could really be understood as unfolding in 4 chapters: creation, fall, redemption, and restoration. Because in the doctrine of creation, the theology of creation, we discover our identity, who we are as image bearers, and the implications of that identity, being made in the image of God. We also understand and discover our purpose, the purpose given to humanity at creation, a purpose restated following the flood, following the fall. That purpose has never gone away. It's just interfered with by our sin. In other words, all of these things we're still called to do, but we're going to face obstacles, thorns and thistles, we are told, resistance, in other words. And then redemption is for something. It's not simply from something. It's not simply that we are saved from sin. We are saved from sin, but we're also saved for something. And that is to return to our purpose, the Great Commission, which is the cultural commission recapitulated in a fallen context, and to participate as witnesses to the inbreaking rule and reign of the Lord Jesus Christ, in which he is making all things new and living as the distinct, called out people of God, demonstrating what life looks like under the rule and reign of Jesus, and offering a sign and foretaste of that which is coming, and urging the world to repent and enter the kingdom of God, the rule and reign of Christ. So we've got to understand the full story in order to develop a full-orbed Christian worldview. Here are some particulars about the program. It is no longer a 10-month course. We have reduced it back to a 9-month course. The program has grown a little bit over time. So it will start next year in August. It will not start July 1st. It will start August 1st and continues through April of the following year, followed by the national commissioning and general commissioning across the country and around the globe through our various cohorts in May of 2025. Students will be privy to a curriculum that is very carefully curated by academics, practitioners. It will include books, speakers, live speakers, daily devotionals, video content, articles, essays, and then, of course, the monthly meetings where you participate in discussion with your peers as you go through the program. And this gives people the opportunity to verbally process what they're learning in community. The program is designed to incorporate the various learning styles, address those, meet those various learning styles. We don't all learn the same way. It's built around 4 quarters: worldview, culture, cultural flashpoints, and finally, application. This is not simply a thinking program. This is a thinking and doing program. That's its goal. You're going to interact with and analyze our daily breakpoint. And breakpoint is a great illustration of what we're talking about. Its goal is to equip Christians with immediate answers to urgent questions about what's happening in the world around them. And this is important. We all need these. But the goal of the Colson Fellows Program is to equip you with this same skill so you know how to think. Instead of being taught what to think. That's what you're going to learn once you develop a coherent Christian worldview. Twice each month, Colson Fellows in Training participate in live webinars with world-class thinkers and authors. I will share some of our faculty here in a minute. I mentioned earlier that once each month you gather, typically on a Saturday morning, for 3 to 4 hours, 3 to 5 hours. And this is a time of student-led discussions facilitated by cohort leaders, Colson Fellows, trained Colson Fellows who facilitate these monthly gatherings. So they can, again, verbally process what they're learning in community with some guidance and direction. And then, as I mentioned, this is not simply a thinking program, but it is a thinking and doing program. The goal of training and education is to equip you for mission, equip you for service in the kingdom. And so you're going to be challenged to apply what you learn through two particular aspects of the program. One is a teaching project. We're going to challenge every student to put together a small teaching practicum where they take a topic they learned in the course and put it into a format where they feel confident enough to teach it in a 4 to 6 week session type setting. And this can be with their family, it can be in their Sunday school class, small group, Bible study, whatever. The main challenge or focus is to put them in a context where they are forced to think through something so thoroughly that they are able to effectively teach it and document what that would look like. And then finally, the personal mission plan. We want to challenge everybody upon the conclusion of this program to think deeply about what it is that burdens God in their world, in their sphere of influence, that He is sharing with them. What burdens them? And then have them prayerfully seek to be used by God. Because it's God working through us. It's not us doing for God. It's God working through us in these various spheres of culture, whether they be small or large. Everybody is called to some redemptive purpose in God's kingdom, and we want to help them discover that purpose and then move to act upon that purpose, to follow in obedience, in other words. This year, these are the books that we're reading. We have 10 books on the docket this year, and we're walking, or 12 books, excuse me. And these are all, again, spread throughout the year, and they are designed to reinforce each other. You're studying one topic in one book and what seems to be a disparate topic in another, and you begin to discover the unity in all these topics as they relate to the Christian worldview. And of course, some of these are classics like Mere Christianity, Knowing God by J.I. Packer, Chuck's seminal work, How Now Shall We Live? Which still remains one of the best summaries of Christian worldview and its practical applications. These are some of our adjunct faculty: Matt Hurd, Oz Guinness, Alyssa Childers, Johnny Erickson Tata, just to name a few. Of course, John Stonestreet, president of the Colson Center for Christian Worldview. Dr. Glenn Sunshine, Carl Trueman, many of you have probably heard of, popular author today. One of the books that you'll be reading, would be reading. So that's a brief overview of the program itself. If you want to learn more about the program, I would encourage you, if you haven't already, to visit colsonfellows.org, and you can learn a lot more. Now let's pivot to the church affiliate program. The Colson Fellows program, its primary delivery mechanism is through the national program. We have about 71 cohorts throughout the United States. We have 13 international cohorts. We have 12 online cohorts that are distributed through the various time zones across North America. And that remains the larger part of the program. 3 years ago, we launched the church affiliate program. Why? Because we believe the church is God's plan A. There is no plan B. So we wanted to take best-in-class worldview formation training materials and put them in the hands of the local church and its leadership, trained by us to facilitate this program for the members of their congregation. So that's what we're going to talk about next. Let's talk specifically about where we are in the program. Again, this is the third year, only the second active year following the first piloting year. Today, we have 96 church affiliates across the United States, as well as in Canada. This year, we have 755 students participating through those 96 church affiliates. For us, this represents about a $340,000 investment in the form of discounts, free tuition, and all the various features unique to the church affiliate program. So it demonstrates we are deeply committed to coming alongside and serving the local church. And it's also why we have qualifications that we really want to ensure that churches meet because of the investment that we're making and the opportunity to sustain the program in the church. And one of the things that's key to sustainability is you've got to have a minimum congregational size. For us, the number we've chosen is average weekly attendance in total families of 200. We do make exceptions to this, and it really depends on the senior pastor's support, which is essential to the success of the program, regardless of for all churches that meet these qualifications. But if you're a smaller church and you are the senior pastor and you are deeply committed to this kind of discipleship training in your church and very supportive of the program, and it's going to be promoted, we will figure out a way to work with you and make it happen. And part of that support really needs to come in the form of promoting the program inside your church through your website, through your email communications, bulletin, whatever internal communication. So once the pastor, the senior pastor, is recognized as, I stand behind this, this is important for our congregation, here's why we think it's important, that is the key to the success of a church affiliate program. We ask also that churches enter into this relationship with a 2-year vision. In other words, they're willing to give it time. It takes a little time to get it started. This is a high level commitment program. This is not a mass interest program. This is a graduate level study over the course of, again, 9 months. And so it's not going to have broad appeal, but it is going to appeal traditionally to the leaders within your church, and they can begin to have a multiplying effect on how it changes their understanding and how they come alongside the pastor to help lead a congregation in the return of this faithful obedience to living out God's call in this world. If your church does not qualify, or if you're not really ready to make that kind of commitment, or you don't think that kind of commitment is really right for you at this point, we will still offer the members of your church a 25% discount for those who want to participate in the program, and they will simply choose a nearby regional cohort if there is one there. Again, I mentioned there's 71 of those around the United States. And if there's not one near you, then they can participate easily in the online cohort. And we'll provide instructions on how they can do that and take advantage of that 25% discount. The church affiliate program is at your church is always and everywhere led by church staff and or lay leaders who have successfully completed the Colson Fellows program. So they have to go through the program first. If there are already Colson Fellows on your staff or within the congregation who are willing to serve as program facilitators and you approve of them as a pastor, or the pastor approves of them, it is possible to launch your church affiliate as soon as the next academic year, which again kicks off in August of 2025. In conjunction with that, we will enroll up to 2 leaders for free from your church in the program, so they can evaluate the program for themselves and give you the assurance. If they're not the senior pastor, give the senior pastor the assurance that this is a sound, theologically sound, orthodox program that corresponds with and does not conflict with the statement of faith of your respective church. In preparation for that, you're going to be working very closely with Tiffany, and she'll have a range of steps that she's going to walk you through. She'll give you a detailed launch plan so you know step by step what needs to be done. And we've tried to make this as easy as possible on the volunteers from the local church. And I think you will find that to be the case. We'll also train your prospective team who will lead the Colson Fellows affiliate at your church. So we will provide all of that. If there are not Colson Fellows at your church, you're here at this webinar, you've learned about this program, you have an interest, there are no Colson Fellows in your church or on your staff, or if there are and you simply want to slow roll your launch, you don't want to launch in year one, you still get the opportunity to take advantage of the 2 free seats in the program. They would enroll in the program next August, go through the program. Over the course of their studies, we're going to be doing the same thing, giving you that detailed launch plan that'll be scheduled to start in the spring of 26. We'll train your prospective team, and even including some of those that are going through the program in anticipation of them completing and being commissioned. And then your church affiliate would launch in August of 2026, so a year following. That's not a bad way to go. And how do the finances work? So the national tuition for the Colson Fellows program is $900. The only other expense are books, which are typically about $190 to $200. So historically, what happens is folks from all around the world enroll in the program. They pay their $900 tuition to us at the Colson Center. In this instance, with our church affiliates, we don't want to insert ourselves between you and your members in the form of a financial relationship. We want that relationship to remain with their local church. So Colson Fellows in Training, that's what CFITS stands for. Colson Fellows in Training will pay their tuition directly to you, the church. Excuse me, I have been battling this cold for 2 weeks and I can't get over this thing. We then bill the church $450 for each Colson Fellow in Training that remains active in the program as of October 1st. So they have 60 days to settle into the program and determine whether or not this is right for them. At the end of September, we're going to document them. And let's say, for example, you've got 15 people who started, 10 remain as of October 1st. We're going to invoice you for those 10 people at $450 each. You determine what the tuition is for your members. And we cannot emphasize strongly enough the necessity of charging your members to participate in this program. You cannot give this away. It requires a significant commitment, and part of that commitment is not only their time, but it is also financial. Again, this is a graduate level program. It is eligible for seminary credits at institutions like Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, Gordon Conwell, Trinity Evangelical Divinity School, etc. So we encourage you to charge. You are allowed to charge up to $900. This is the revenue sharing arrangement. So you get to keep that over the $450. You will need some of this because you've got to pay for refreshments and you've got some probably minor facility costs and things like that. Most of our churches seem to charge somewhere in the neighborhood of $700 to $800 in tuition. You also get to determine the payment schedule. So you can create a payment schedule for your members and you're at liberty to do as long as you want. That's entirely up to you. You can use some of the surplus to establish scholarships for your members. We see a lot of churches do that. So that's entirely your decision. The only thing that we prohibit is charging more than $900. Church provides the space, obviously, all the AV support, setup, refreshments, light refreshments. Again, these are typically meetings that are taking place over one each month throughout the 9 months, typically on a Saturday morning. So it's always nice to have good coffee, a little light breakfast fare, refreshments, because folks are there for 3 to 4 hours. Book costs are carried by the student, by the participant. Again, those are approximately $200. So let's say that you're interested in exploring this further. How do you do that? The first thing to do is to submit the Let's Get Started form at the following URL on our website, colsonfellows.org. We have a page dedicated specifically to our church affiliate program. Submit that form. That goes to Tiffany. And you will have an opportunity to schedule a conversation with her. She's going to send you some written information in digital form, and that will further detail and explain the program. But you also have an opportunity to schedule a time to talk with her, and she can walk you through, answer any questions that you may have. And she is there to help you throughout that entire process, all the way from this initial phase of gathering information to implementation and maintenance of the program, as long as you remain a church affiliate partner. So we want to walk beside you, support you, and help you in every way that we can, and we will. She'll send you a prospective affiliate and enrollment package. This is all the further detail that I mentioned earlier. If you are on this call and you're here on behalf of your church and you want to present this to your leadership, we'll help you prepare to speak to your church leadership. Then you meet with the leadership, explain the program. We're happy to share the curriculum, the syllabus, so they can evaluate for themselves. Of course, they get the free seats, and they can take the year to, again, take advantage of free training, but also directly evaluate the program for themselves. And as a church, once they reach the point where they're willing to make the commitment to move forward and become a church affiliate officially, we will send them a church affiliate agreement. And that simply outlines what you can expect from us and what we expect from you as a church affiliate partner. We just want that all to be clear, upfront, and understood, and we're all on the same page. Choose your free seat recipients for that first year of enrollment, and you will begin either your training year, which is when you're not launching it to your broader church congregation, or you will actually proceed with launch in anticipation of the forthcoming academic year, which again kicks off August 1st in 2025. So with that, I am going to wrap this up, and we'll bring Tiffany back on, and we'll open it up for questions.
Yes, we do have one question, but a reminder, if you have any questions, now's your opportunity. We'd be happy to answer them. Go to the bottom of the screen, click on the Q&A box, and you can submit your question there. So I did get a question earlier about a church that is in the 125 to 150 range. And so they were asking about, it seems like they have a lot of zeal to launch the church affiliate program, but they don't quite meet the minimum. And so they were asking if they could be an open affiliate, which means that we actually have a couple things to touch on there as far as, the requirement, but also the opened and closed affiliate model. Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, the first thing I'd say is we certainly want to talk to you and walk through all the details so we understand the situation and make sure you understand the situation. If we elect to proceed and you do launch a church affiliate, we ask that before there's a couple of restrictions with respect to being an open church affiliate. And when I say open church affiliate, that means you're able to offer it to people in your community from outside your congregation, which we strongly encourage in many instances. With the following exception: if you are within a 2-hour drive of one of our regional cohorts, we do not allow our church affiliates to be open affiliates. That's what the regional cohort exists for. We believe, again, this is an intensive discipleship program, but it belongs in the church. And as such, it belongs to people who are living in ecclesial relationship with one another. So we want them to be a part of your church. So they are known by you. They operate under the authority of the local church. And so we want that to be the case. If you don't meet those conditions, or you don't violate those conditions, you are in a community where there is no regional cohort, we ask that you launch and run the program for at least 1 year. And in year 2, It is possible to become an open church affiliate, and you can offer it to the broader program. We've also got church affiliates that partner with other churches. As many as 3 churches will get involved and work together to host a church affiliate at one of their 3 churches. And I think that's a really wonderful way of doing things.
All right, we have a few more questions. So it looks like we might have a church that is interested in having more than 2 leaders, do the slow roll approach, which means they would start with training year, and they might have more than 2 leaders, and they're asking, would the additional participants receive the 25% discount that you mentioned earlier, or do they pay the full tuition amount to do training year after the 2 free seats are fulfilled?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you get 2 free seats in the first year, no charge whatsoever. If you want to add additional people, all you're paying, the church is paying, remember, $450 for each participant. If you choose not to require them to pay you, and you're going to underwrite that, treat that as an investment on behalf of the church into additional leadership in that first year, you are perfectly at liberty to do that.
And is that for training year, Michael, if they go through the regional cohort to be trained for year 1?
That's throughout the program. So, we have many of our churches scholarship people. We had a church last year in Canada that had 2 free seats, and then they paid for an additional 22 people. They paid the $450 for an additional 22 people to go through the program. It was a large church, and as the pastor told me, that they're running out of time, and they don't know how much longer they will be able to practice the Christian faith in Canada. And he wanted to train as many of his leaders as possible, so they made that investment on their behalf.
The next question is about what are the requirements to maintain a church affiliate status?
Well, it's not so much requirements as it is we desire a commitment that as long as you can, as long as you promote the program, we were asking as long as you are a church affiliate that you are committed to promoting the program. And if you have, 5 people a year, 10 people a year, 15 people a year, you do that as long as you can. And, perhaps potentially it's possible you might exhaust the supply of prospective students within your church. And that may be 3 years down the road. It may be 10 years down the road. I don't know. But we ask that you don't commit for just 1 year, train a group of people, and then abandon the program. There's other ways to facilitate participation in the program than entering into this co-working agreement where we're making a significant investment in you, and we're asking you to make an investment in your congregation and in the promotion of the program.
The next question, I think, is needing clarity about the training year. So they're saying, if there are no Colson Fellows to lead in your church, who leads the cohort during the first year of training?
Yeah, they will go through one of our already established cohorts, either a regional cohort if you happen to live near one, or they will participate in an online cohort through the national program. And that's a great opportunity for them because they see how a cohort is led and managed.
Right. The next question is, how many people is the ideal size for the cohort at the church affiliate?
Yeah. It just depends on the church. So my church here in Plano, Texas, Christ Church, launched a church affiliate this year. We had 51 people enroll in the program. That was our largest church affiliate this year. Fortunately, we had about 10 Colson Fellows on staff, so facilitating a group that size was easy. But even if you don't have a large number of Colson Fellows already on staff, the way the program is structured, it is much more effective in a church environment with a one-to-many relationship. Within our regional cohorts, they are managing all of the administrative processes Whereas in a church affiliate, you have church administration that is there to support and help in that. So that does not fall to your cohort leader. So it's much easier to maintain that one-to-many facilitation. Um, we like to break those groups up, particularly for discussion. So in a group of 51 students, in my case, we have those broken up into 5 different groups. So it's 10 to 11 per group to facilitate effective discussion between them. But we can walk you through all of that process and make sure that works. My point is I have not seen a group too large. And we have church affiliates that have 4 people. And that's fine too.
Yeah, since you're mentioning that, I'm not sure if you touched on this because I am focused on the questions. The minimum size for a group.
Yeah, we obviously you need enough students to foster interaction. So we think 3 is a good minimum number. We don't see many of those, but on occasion we do. And sometimes the question is, well, is this too small for us to start? And my answer would be no. Do not despise the day of small beginnings. Amen. You're muted, Tiffany.
The next couple questions that I see were just answered. So you can start with just one Colson Fellow facilitating. So I will skip on to the next one, which is how much does the curriculum adjust year to year within the program?
Yeah, it changes every year. There are modifications, adaptations, additions, subtractions to the curriculum every single year. You might ask, why is that? Well, the easy answer is because of the topic. We're dealing with culture, and culture is today an incredibly dynamic situation. What used to take generations to change is now taking literally months to experience change. This is unprecedented in human history. And it's facilitated by the rapid transmission of ideas that is unique to a digital world in which we live. And it is really difficult for the church to keep pace with all that is taking place. So yeah, those conditions warrant continual updates to the curriculum. You're muted again.
Is it the individual who becomes a church affiliate or the church? Meaning what happens if once trained, you have to move?
The arrangement, the agreement is with the institution. It is between the Colson Center and the local church. So if you are an individual, a Colson Fellow, and you've been participating, you get commissioned as a Colson Fellow, and let's say you were involved in the leadership of your church's affiliate, and you move and you relocate your membership to another local church, then we just start the process again if you had the opportunity to introduce the Colson Fellows program to your new church.
How can I learn if there's a church affiliate program in my area? So I do want to, I guess there's some complexity to that question because again, many of our affiliates are closed. So you wouldn't necessarily be able to participate in another church affiliate if they weren't open. But Dan, I can send you a list that shows all of our church affiliate locations across the country. If you have questions that you want to maybe talk to another church affiliate in your state, I can certainly connect you, or maybe not in your state, maybe of a similar denomination or size. So maybe we can touch base on that. But
Yeah, can we post a link to the map
sure.
in
I,
the
what
Q&A?
I'll do is I'm going to send a follow-up email today, which has a couple of things in it. It will have the church affiliate brochure. It will have the recording of today's webinar and also the link to the map with all of the locations. Okay, next question. Are regional cohorts all online, one per time zone in the US? So I guess we're clarifying. So there's regional cohorts and there's online cohorts. Do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, regional cohorts meet physically each month, once each month throughout the program. They typically meet at a local church, um, but they are not an official part of that church. Some meet at different venues. Some meet in homes if they're large enough to accommodate the group. Um, so it's a different expression. Online cohorts are obviously just that. It is an entirely digital experience. You're meeting in an environment like this, utilizing Zoom, so you see the rest of your participants. They break you up into breakout rooms for discussion, but this allows us to traverse great distances and convene people across great distances where there is no regional cohort.
What does it mean to be commissioned? What does that entail?
Yeah. Well, Chuck was a Marine, and so his principle was you don't graduate from this program. It's preparation. It's preparation for mission. It's so you can join Christ in his mission on earth. And so he coined the term or chose to opted to use the term commissioning because it's to do that. It's to send you out into the world better prepared. Understanding the story of creation, fall, redemption, restoration, and its healing effect on our relationship with God, self, others, and creation, and that we have a responsibility, as expressed in the cultural mandate, to move out into the world and to recognize the disordering impact of sin, and where possible, by the power of Christ and the preaching of the gospel, to bring remedy, to resolve, to make things new, to restore. So that's what we're commissioned to do.
Right. Here's a question about, can you estimate the number of hours per month that it requires between the meetings and materials of a participant? And I assume they mean going through the program and not necessarily serving as the leader of an
Yeah.
affiliate.
Yeah. Participation in the program, again, it varies a little bit from year to year, but on average, it's about 6 to 8 hours per week. Now that sounds like a lot to folks, but we remind them that you are supplanting some time you're already spending in similar activities. We assume, for example, that people who self-select for a program like this with its rigor and commitment are probably already involved in some sort of daily devotional practice. They're already involved in some sort of personal reading. They're reading books throughout the week, the day, the month. Well, they're just going to exchange all of that time, reallocate all of that time, set that aside, and have that time absorbed by something that has been very carefully curated for them, reading, devotionals. Um, we all, if we're honest, have probably a little time we spend in front of Netflix that we could reallocate to something that is, I would argue, far more worthwhile, growing in our knowledge and understanding of God and our relationship to His world. Um, so we find that most people that enter into the program, there's a little period of adjustment, usually the first couple of weeks, but they find a rhythm. And what's really been neat is to see people incorporate that rhythm beyond their experience in the Colson Fellows program. They exchange their time for something more useful. And I think the whole church would benefit from that sort of discipline.
Here's a question. How can I find if there are members, other people at their church that are a Colson Fellow? Is there a way to do that, Michael?
Well, the best we can do is we can locate all of our Colson Fellows. There are about 5,000 Colson Fellows, people that have been through the program that are still with us. And we can locate them geographically. We may be able to discern where they are, what church they are attending, but that comes from their application. So if they went through the program 10 years ago, that may not still be accurate. But we can find people in the area.
So far, those are all of the questions we've had.
Well, very good. Hopefully this was helpful. Again, this is the first time we've done something like this, or we've provided information, general information, both about the Colson Fellows Program itself, but also this particular model through which we deliver it into the local church, the church affiliate program. So hopefully that was not overwhelming and informative.
Okay, I do have another one about leadership. So what types of materials are the leaders provided with to run the monthly meetings? How much monthly prep time is required? So this would be
Yeah.
director of the affiliate.
Yeah, it's minimal. So again, the cohort director is really more of a facilitator. There's no teaching responsibility. There's no coordinating of curriculum. All of this is laid out for the participants in the online learning platform, and each day they open that up, and it gives them a very clear list of assignments for that week. They go through, they complete those, they indicate those are completed, they answer some questions in the online learning platform. You have access to that as a leader, so you have some summary tools that will tell you where people are in their progress in terms of percentage. Are they complete? Are they falling behind? Um, we give you access to the alumni platform, where you have the repository of resources that are there to help you facilitate the program. What does a monthly meeting look like? And again, this is simple stuff. You have typically 3 sessions that are student-led discussions. You might be kicking off the questions. We give you those questions. We give you summaries of every book. We do our own version of Cliff Notes for every single book in the program. So you don't have to read the entire book. Some of these books, as a Colson Fellow, you have read, but it's helpful to have that refresher. But you're there really to ask pointed questions, again, that we're providing with some objectives. You want to make sure that the students are really mastering the material and they're moving beyond simply answering questions and grasping the underlying theological principles that are representative of the consciously Christian perspective on that particular matter. What does the Bible teach us, either explicitly or more often implicitly? This is why worldview formation is so challenging, is because much of what we understand is implicit. It's implied in Scripture, and it's deduced from a variety of locations in the Bible, a variety of sources in the Bible. So there's just not a great administrative burden. It's a very small administrative burden on the leaders. Most of it falls on the students, and we're directing them and giving them their instructions directly through the online learning platform. You're just herding the cattle.
Have answered all the questions we've received.
Wonderful. Well, again, thank you for joining us. And, Tiffany is available if you have follow-up questions. I would encourage you to reach out to her. She's going to send you a copy of this webinar. If you want to review it or perhaps share it with others, you'll also have her contact information. And she can walk you through step by step everything that you need to know. Again, our goal is to make this as easy on you and on the church as possible. So anything that we can do to serve you, please do not hesitate to let us know. That is our pleasure and our privilege. So God bless you. And again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.